like to call this meeting to order. This regular City Council meeting of Tuesday, October 18th. The clerk will call the roll. Here.
Mayor Wolcott?
Here.
Councilmember Tandy?
Here.
Councilmember Hall?
Here.
Councilmember Villanueva?
Here.
Councilmember Williams?
Here.
Councilmember Winters?
Here.
Thank you.
Tonight we'll be doing both the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'm going to ask that you please remain standing after the anthem for the pledge. Tonight, singing the national anthem for us this evening is Ms. Brooklyn Ball, a fifth grader at Legacy Traditional School here in Surprise. Brooklyn, if you'll all please rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Brooklyn. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again, Brooklyn, for singing the anthem this evening. What a wonderful job you've done for all of us, and you've really, I think you put chills on everybody's, the backs of everybody's arms. Brooklyn and her family here have been Surprise residents for over 10 years and currently live in Marley Park. Brooklyn's father teaches and coaches at Valley Vista High School. Brooklyn is a straight A student since kindergarten. She's a student council member and received the President's Award for Academic Excellence for 2016. She also plays the violin and volunteers for the American Cancer Society. Woman, you are intimidating to me. Brooklyn, what a fine young lady and an aspiration you are. So thank you so much for being here. And so I'd like to ask the whole council to come down, because I know Brooklyn has a little bit of a presentation to make herself, but also if council member-elect, if you would join us as well in the well.
In the well.
In the well. All right, thank you. Next, we will have representatives from One Step Beyond, Benavia, and the City's Human Service and Community Vitality team. Please, if you would, come forward. So tonight we want to recognize Disability Employment Awareness Month. Both One Step Beyond and Benavia are local surprise nonprofits who operate group-supported employment programs for people with disabilities. We as a city and our staff believe in these programs. Programs like this promote inclusion, opportunity, innovation, and embrace individual differences. And so, with that, a proclamation. Whereas, according to data from the Centers for Disease Control, 22% of Americans have some kind of disability. And whereas in Arizona, 21% of adults over 18 have a disability. And whereas the U.S. labor force participation rate for people with disabilities is 19% compared to people without disabilities at 68%. And whereas 1 in 3 unemployed American adults who are able to work reported a disability, and whereas the unemployment rate for people with disabilities is 8.7% compared to 4.6% rate for people without disabilities, and whereas 4 in 10 American adults who have not yet completed high school reported a disability, and whereas nearly half of those with an annual household income of less than $15,000 reported a disability, and whereas workplaces welcoming the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas Disability Employment Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity for citizens to raise awareness and celebrate the varied contributions of people with disabilities. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Sharon Walcott, Mayor of the City of Surprise, do hereby proclaim the month of October in the year of 2016 as Disability Employment Awareness Month in the City of Surprise. And I hereby call upon all citizens, employers, and community organizations to advance the important message that people with disabilities are equal to the task throughout the year. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Walking is good. All right, next is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. I'm pleased to introduce our Economic Development Director, Janine Yurkovich, to start off our report on the Belgrande project. Janine.
Thank you so much. Let me see where we are here. Sorry, do you know, I am not seeing the report here.
While she's getting everything ready, to the audience who might wonder, we have new equipment and we're all getting used to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kindness, Madam
Absolutely.
Mayor and members of council. We've only got 34 days to go by my calculations, so a lot to do. I'm going to get us started with a quick economic development update. Then I will turn the podium over to Brock Barnhart from the Arizona Department of Transportation. And then we'll call up Public Works Director Mike Gent for a quick update from him. So with just 34 days to go, our goal, of course, is very clear. It's supporting the holiday ramp up for those retailers. As of this date, we've the 85100 text shop surprise has been a resounding success. We're very happy about it. For the new 85100 number, we've had almost 1,500 texts sent out plus emails. So that's very exciting. And altogether, the campaign has sent out texts and emails and messages to 212,000 or that many deals to that many people. So it's been a resounding success. We're very excited, and we've had 125 businesses participating in that, which is wonderful. So we are encouraged by that, and we hope that this is a great platform for even after the project is complete. And thank you to the Chamber and Dex Media for all of their support with that. We couldn't have done it without them. So just a quick note. So of course, coming up, we've got an employment workshop that we want everyone to be aware of happening on Halloween, Monday the 31st. From 9 to noon at the Communiversity, job seekers will learn tips on updating their resumes, interviewing, social media networking, live networking, working at how to work a job fair, and so forth. And then the following day on November 1st, we're doing something unique, and it's a very interesting partnership with a group called Skillful. And what we're doing is we're reaching out to the employers. So not just for employees and people that want jobs, we want to train employers in this new digital age, better ways to recruit employees. We think that's interesting. So we're helping them work on skill-based hiring, job posting techniques, workforce support resources, how to interact with social media to get those key employees. So we think that's really important. So I'll put a call out there that anyone interested in reserving a spot at the employer event can contact Kendra Pettis. Her email is on the presentation. And finally, our holiday job fair, November 2nd, again, 9 to noon at the Communiversity. They've been very good to us, so kudos to the Communiversity. It's absolutely free to attend, free for businesses, and it's just such a great way for that interactive, finding out what jobs are there. It's a great way for employers to meet candidates in person, hire on the spot if they wish. So we're a fan. We love the job fairs. So we hope that's a big help to everybody on November 2nd. The business outreach continues. So we want businesses to know, even as the ramp up starts, there are still resources available for them. We know that it's not easy to come out of the slowdown. So we're offering a sponsorship for any business that's not a member of the Chamber who would like to go to these educational events for businesses. We, as the Economic Development Department, will sponsor those Bell and Grand businesses. So we just want folks to be aware. The next one coming up is really customer awareness, how to help those customers get the right message. And of course, Kendra Pettis is our point person on that to reserve a spot. And we're planning celebrations, so details to be announced. But we are planning, some celebrations for the businesses and for the community. We think that's really important to, really acknowledge what a great thing that's happened, and all of the patience of both the residents and the businesses through this process. So on that, I also want to mention, and it's not on this presentation, we've had a monthly stakeholder meeting. Those have been great. Because of the holidays, we'd like to actually postpone and the opening of the bridge, of course. We're actually postponing the next stakeholder meeting until December. So there'll be nothing in November. I'll just repeat. The next stakeholder meeting will be December 13. Same time, 9 a.m. At the City Hall community room. So just in conclusion, I'm going to turn the podium over to Brock Barnhart, and I just want to thank everyone, particularly our partners at ADOT and Kaufman, and the Chamber and DEX, and all of you, of course, for your leadership. So I'll turn the podium over to Brock.
Thank you so much, Janine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Brock.
Good evening, Mayor Council. My presentation this evening will be a brief one. Last time I was before you, I communicated the target opening date of November 22nd that the contractor had communicated to us. I'm pleased to announce that they're still firm on that date, opening Bell Road up on November 22nd. With that, I would entertain any questions you might have from me from a construction standpoint, but really my goal tonight was just to let you know we're still on target.
That's great news. That's great
Thank
news. Council, any questions on that? All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks, Brock.
Thank you so much, Brock.
So I'll tell you from my perspective some of the things going on too. The MSE walls, that's the mechanically supported earthen walls, are complete on the Bell Road approaches. So that's exciting news. They're making significant progress on Grand Avenue right now. That's coming up, very nicely. They'll actually begin paving on the east side of the intersection, the ramp going up next week, and then shortly after that, the week after, they start on the west side. And so they've given, as we've sat in these meetings with the contractor and the project manager, we hear about these benchmarks, and we're closely tracking the progress as well, so we know what to expect and how to communicate. Because the most important or most often question we get is, when is Bell Road going to be open again? But then after we say, well, November 22nd, they say, really? And we say, well, yeah, actually, yeah. The perspective we're watching, and we do have a lot of confidence that it'll open November 22nd. The other kind of important date is, when is the overall project going to be complete? And in sitting in the meetings with the project manager, ADOT, as well as the contractor, there's a lot of confidence that it'll be complete. The interruptions to the traffic flow will be removed prior to spring training at the end of February. This project is really exciting, and some of the progress that we saw change every day. Some of the things you might not see as visually different from the perspectives we have, but it is changing every day still, and they're doing a fantastic job of doing it safely and very effectively, making sure the integrity of the project is whole. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. City Attorney's report.
None tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
City Clerk's report.
Yes, Mayor, I do have one. We have early voting that's underway currently right now in the clerk's office for the general election. And we've been very busy. We've had over 400 voters come in, vote in person since starting last Wednesday. And we're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Early voting ends on November 4th, but we've added a couple of Saturday votings. So we're going to do Saturday, October 22nd and Saturday, October 29th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. here in the clerk's office, if anyone would like to come in and vote early and not have to wait in the lines on November 8th. If you're on the permanent early voter list, you should have received a ballot already in the mail. If you haven't, come by City Hall and you'll be able to cast your vote here. We'll be able to process a ballot for you. And if you wait to vote on Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 8th, you'll have to go to your designated polling location. So if you choose to wait to vote on Election Day, they probably have sent you the information for your polling location. If not, you can call the city clerk's office at 623-222-1200 or visit the recorder's website, recorder.maricopa.gov, and look for polling place icons. So it's going well, and we're excited to be able to offer voting on Saturday. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Very good. We have call to the public. Anyone for call to the public?
Yes, we have Richard Ozga, I believe it is. Richard Ozga?
Last call. Richard Ozga? All right. Then we will move on to the next item, which is consent agenda, consisting of 2 items that are non-controversial. So does any member of council wish to remove any item from consent agenda for further discussion? Councilmember Villanueva, did you have your question? No. Okay. So seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I approve to approve the agenda, the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll.
It's a unanimous yes vote, Mayor.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 3, this is consideration and action to appoint Jim Hayden to serve the remainder of the term for District 2 council member due to resignation with a term expiration of December 31st, 2016, and direct the city clerk to issue the oath of office.
Jim, if you would like to come forward. Go ahead.
Do we have to vote? Yeah.
This requires a motion and a vote. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Jim Hayden to serve the remainder of the term for District 2 council member due to the resignation with a term expiration of December 31st, 2016, and direct the city clerk to issue the oath of office.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to appoint Jim Hayden to District 2 council member as presented. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll.
That is a unanimous yes vote, Mayor.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I
Jim Hayden,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the laws
and the laws
of the state of Arizona,
and the laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and defend them
and defend them
against all enemies
against all enemies
whatsoever,
whatsoever,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the position of
of
Councilmember District 2,
Council Member District 2,
and hereby attest
and hereby attest
to abide
to abide
by all
by all
official
official
policies
policies
and procedures
and procedures
of the City of Surprise,
of the City of Surprise,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you. You can go that way or up there, whichever way you like. Okay.
So Jim is going to join us up at the dais for the remainder of the meeting. Welcome aboard, Jim. All right, next item.
The next item is consideration and action to appoint Dennis Bash and Giselle Norberg to fill 2 vacancies on the Planning and Zoning Commission with a term expiration of June 30th, 2019 for both vacancies, and direct the city clerk to administer the oath of office.
Councilmember Winters.
Thank you, Mayor. We had 2 great folks applying for the Planning and Zoning Committee. Unfortunately, Giselle won't be here this evening, but she'll be sworn in at a different time if the council goes along with this subcommittee's selection. So in consideration action to appoint Dennis Bash and Giselle Norberg to fill 2 vacancies on the Planning and Zoning Commission with a term expiration of June 30th, 2019 for both vacancies, and direct the city clerk Aguilar to administer the oath of office. Thank you.
Second.
Is there a motion? Did you make the
Yes.
motion? I'm sorry.
I did make the motion. Want to do it again?
And is there a second?
Yes, I second it.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve these two candidates for the Planning and Zoning Commission as presented, expiration of June 30th, 2019, for both vacancies. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll.
That is a unanimous yes vote, Mayor.
Really?
And now we'll start the oath of office for Mr. Bash.
My button didn't light up. Did your button light up? Did your button light up? You already voted. You already voted.
Please raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your...
Dennis Bash,
Thank you. Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the laws
and the laws
of the state of Arizona,
of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and defend them
and defend them
against all enemies
against all enemies
whatsoever,
whatsoever,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the position of
of the position of
Planning and Zoning Commission member,
Planning and Zoning Commission member,
and hereby attest
and hereby attest
to abide
to abide
by all
by all
official policies
policies
and procedures
and procedures
of the City of Surprise,
of the City of Surprise,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
I have to say something.
Mr. Bash? Mr. Bash, congratulations. Ms. Villanueva?
Yes. I want to say also that we had some very good candidates for this position. Unfortunately, we only had 2 openings, but we did appreciate the ones that applied. And unfortunately, we could only have 2, but they were excellent candidates as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item.
Item number 5. This is consideration and action authorizing funding to the Thunderbird artists in an amount not to exceed $30,000 and amending the budget for fiscal year 2017 Surprise Fine Art and Wine Festival as recommended by the Tourism Advisory Commission. This is Resolution 2016-127.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. We are bringing to you tonight the 2017 Surprise Fine Art and Wine Festival as recommended by the Tourism Advisory Commission. And I have D'Angelo Hall, the vice chair, with me tonight in case there's some questions.
Council members, any questions from Mr. Hall? Mr. Winters?
Thank you, Mayor. D'Angelo, you know, we started this, when we started this, I thought we were going to go like 3 years on this and stop. Is that correct or not? This is going on the 5th year, correct?
Correct.
Was it not? When we first started, we were going to go 3 years. Has that changed, and why has it changed?
For one, I'm not sure that we were able to say 3 years. Well, the main reason we're continuing to invest in this is really because it's year after year it's showing progress, and this is one of the only really events that draw in people from out of state, out of town. The numbers are between 5,000 to 6,000 people that come in for this Fine Arts and Wine Festival.
Perhaps you can give us a little additional history, because I know Mr. Hall was not here when we first started this program.
No problem. Mayor, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Wingenroth. I hear it constantly from the council. Why don't we bring in more events? You know, this weekend I woke up very early on a Saturday morning and watched Channel 12 and watched all the events that were in the Valley. And it was interesting to watch 3 or 4 of the events that, even in Glendale, they had 80 restaurants within a half-mile walking distance to enjoy Catlin Court. We need to continue to invest in these type of events if we're going to draw. Our infrastructure continues to not be where it should be to increase these events. I think that Ms. Combs, Judy Combs, has invested in us. Mr. Winters, this stipend has decreased over the years, and it was one of the. It was you're absolutely correct. It was initially after 3 years to be self-sustaining. It's not self-sustaining, and the reason it's not self-sustaining is that the purchases of the fine art are not conducive to her bringing it back to Surprise. We started this back in 2003, and we lost it after 1 year. So we're asking you to bring it back, give us time to grow an event, which we think is probably a classic event. We share partnerships with Carefree and Scottsdale, and I believe that this puts us on the map. And as we continue to grow, hopefully it becomes self-sustaining. I think that's our goal, but this is not general fund money. This is tourism tax money. So we ask you to support this and help us move forward.
May I continue?
Yes, council member.
Do you think this will be self-sustaining in the near future? When do you think this will be self-sustaining?
I would be hesitant to say that it'd be self-sustaining in 1 or 2 years, but we can talk to the promoter and say that after a year or two, Mr. Winters, that if it isn't self-sustaining, then we won't come back to the council for an additional subsidy. But I look at it. I think what's important, and Donna, you might want to go to the we're receiving about 4 million impressions a year off this event. It's an established event for almost 35 years. With Scottsdale and Fountain Hills and Carefree being partners. They're requesting $30,000 from us today. It's coming from bed tax revenue, as you say. And I think I believe that when the promoter believes that sales in Surprise exceed expenses, that she'll be able to say that it's self-sustaining, but I think it's a year-to-year thing. We have been increasing every year, and that's why she's been decreasing her request for a stipend, if you will. So if it's the mayor's and the council's pleasure for us to say to the promoter that we want to see this self-sustaining in the next year or two, then we're happy to do that when we have our conversations with her.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Mark, do you have those year-over-year numbers in growth? Do you have those for the council?
Only from, and I don't think we have it here tonight, but the first year it was like 1,000, but it rained all weekend, if you recall.
I do.
And it was pretty cold. Actually, it snowed up in the Bradshaws that weekend. So, but we're up to about 5,000 today, and it's gradually growing. I think what's more impressive, and this is what's going to draw the tourism piece, is the more out-of-town visitors that come to this event to display their art is going to draw the folks from out of the Surprise West Valley community. And I think Ms. Combs is showing us that she's getting that. But I think gradually over time we've went from 1,000 to 2,000 and 3,000. I can surely supply the city manager with those numbers, and then we can get those to you over the last 5 years. Yes, I can do that.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, Councilwoman Villanueva?
No, go ahead. Mark, you mentioned that sustaining as far as population goes. These people come and use also our hotels, right? And our restaurants as they come. So
that would be correct. Yes, Mrs. Villanueva.
So that itself is worth having this art show.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Councilmember Hall?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Mark. The other thing is that if I remember right, the first one had about 40 artists, and there was like a half a dozen food. And so every year that piece of it has grown too. We're up to, last year we had 72 artist booths and 14 food. So she's attracting more people to come to the show as from a vendor standpoint, which also adds attendance, I think. Just, you know, and the feedback I got last year was just tremendously positive. And she sold a lot of art last year compared to. So,
Madam Mayor, Mr. Hall, that would be accurate. She was very excited last year that she actually had some of her artisans, if you will, who are selling art for $30,000 or $40,000 a piece. Truly not my checkbook, but or in my checkbook range. But she's very excited that it's starting to become a map on the map type of destination. And you're absolutely right. And the caliber of the artists that she's bringing to town is really increasing, and that's what will increase our visitor from throughout the country.
Councilmember Tandy.
Thanks. I've been other places in the state of Arizona, and I've run into some of these vendors, and they're very excited about this event, the ones that I talked to. On some of these, the food and the wineries, microbreweries, distillery, I don't know if any of those are local, or are we approaching our locals as we grow new local businesses that do those services? Would they participate as well?
We, very timely question, and not politically motivated, I want you to know. State 48, which just opened up on Bell Road. Mm-hmm. We talked to Mario. His name's not Mario. His name is Mario. And he's a good friend. He's going to be a big partner with us during spring training. He's actually going to have his brew. He actually is starting to brew his craft at the store locally, and has it's an amazing sight. I never have experienced it, but from a food perspective, we haven't had local vendors, but the brewery will be a part of this event next year, and we look forward to that as we move forward, and hopefully bring in more of our local restaurants as we move forward.
Okay, thanks.
Great idea. Thank you so much. So I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve Resolution 2016-127.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve Resolution 2016-127 as presented. Seeing no further questions, the clerk will take the roll.
We have 6 yes vote, no 1 no vote. Councilmember Winters.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item.
This is a presentation and discussion on recording a blank petition to begin the process of annexing lands within a county island generally bound by the Acoma Drive to the north, Cactus Road to the south, 175th Avenue to the west, and Cotton Lane to the east.
Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My apologies.
No worries. We're all getting used to this. Buttons aren't lighting up here, and a couple of other little bugs that we have to work out.
Well, that's not it. My apologies, Council. So I'll give you a little background on this. The city received an annexation application on September 7, 2016 for an area that's generally bound by Waddell, Cactus Road, 175th Avenue, and Cotton Lane. We also received a planned unit development application as well, a project called Magnolia that would encompass most of this area. Most of this area is a portion of Mr. Truman's old ownership. He'll retain about 10 to 15 acres that will continue to be his residence, and looking at possibly doing kind of some orange groves, those kinds of things on there. The property is fairly irregular shaped, and it's actually located within the county island within the city. As a kind of a process and requirements aspect of annexations, one of the first things we must do is record a blank petition. Typically, we don't necessarily have to take this in front of council, but it's just good practice wherever I've worked that we always do, so that council knows that we're actually going out and going to be, contacting residents, contacting property owners, and so forth. Once you record the blank petition, you then must have to wait 30 days before you're able to get a signature on that petition. However, within that 30-day waiting period after you record the blank petition, within that last 10 days, you have to have a public hearing. So right now we have a tentative public hearing of November 15, 2016, so long as council wants us to move forward with recording this blank petition. Then we have to record the signed petition within 1 year after the 30-day waiting period. It must be signed by owners of 1/2 or more in value of real and personal property. So the assessor's valuation, as well as the Department of Revenue valuation for any personal property on there. And it must be signed by more than 1/2 of property owners. And if owned by multiple owners, they're deemed as one owner together. So if you have two separate names on the deed, both names need to sign that petition for it to be valid. Once you've gained that first signature, you cannot mess with the size of the annexation. It's basically locked in, but it can be altered prior to signature, but must be the same boundaries or smaller. So if we go large and want to go larger after we record it, that's not possible. We have to go to what the largest of the set boundaries is, and then we can pare down from there. Currently, we're looking at this area, and I'll speak a little bit more once we get to the maps about how we're kind of looking at what size of annexation to go with, based on council's input, of course. The annexation then becomes final 30 days after adoption of the ordinance. Some of the requirements is the territory must be contiguous to the city for at least 300 feet. At all points, the annexation area must be 200 feet in width, and the distance from the annexation boundary is no more than twice the maximum width, and this is to combat strip annexations. But one of the things that, with regards to the territory must be contiguous, there's a section under statute that if it's in a county, a county island that's fully surrounded by the city, the adjoinement and the other pieces don't have to necessarily be there. So in this case, when you see kind of what we're talking about with annexation, we'll actually have two areas we're kind of annexing within this county island, but it would be in accordance with statute. So just as a reference, so we have these are the two county islands kind of in this area. The one we'll be focusing on is this county island here. Here's kind of a close-up. This is kind of the Acoma alignment, Waddell, Cactus, 175th, Cotton Lane. The Paradise Honors School is actually located right here. Again, closing in. So Paradise Honors is located right here. They've also purchased this property for expansion. Magnolia is would be the rest of this property, including this piece. They're working out an agreement with this property owner to look at swapping some of the property so that the development can be contiguous, and they're working through that process now. We're also looking at taking in this little corner piece here. That's actually a county island as well. So as of right now, this was we had put together a couple different legal descriptions. We have the ability of going north of Waddell, but we felt going full south of Waddell would be pertinent at this point. So this would actually encompass everything, including the Paradise Honor School. There is a catch to this, however, because when you look at where we currently have requests into the assessor's office as well as the Department of Revenue to look at that valuation, because we believe that the Paradise Honor School would actually be the most valued piece of property in here, and thus would probably be over the 51% threshold of valuation that we would need to conduct an annexation. The other piece in this as well is that the developer that's looking to develop Magnolia needs to close on the property in December. So we need an annexation approved in December. So if we don't have the necessary votes in place or the signatures in place to do so, that would also hurt that development. There's a few different ways we can look at this where we actually look at annexing around the Paradise Honors School in their own property so that we can make the annexation happen. We can also extend to the north. The vast majority of valuation from what we see on the assessor's rolls is to the north. On the DOR rolls, we have not received the DOR report as of yet, so we're waiting on that. So there's a way to size it in a certain way if we want to pull as much in as possible. That said, Paradise Honors has committed to annex into the city at some point. They want to do so after they're done with their development of their second phase. In either case, it's kind of up to the council discretion on how you would like to move forward with that. But what I would like to get kind of some, conversation on is council okay with us going forward and getting recording a blank petition in this area? Do we need to look larger rather than smaller? And doing so, where we go from here. We're having a neighborhood meeting tomorrow on this, where we've notified all the property owners and we've had signs and so forth out. So we'll be able to gain a little more knowledge on where we're at kind of with those property owners at this point. But of so far, this would be right now we have, if you looked at these boundaries, we have 100%. We have 100% commitment in this area. In this, we don't necessarily have that. If we look at the larger area, we're not really sure at this point, but we could always make those overtures out. And it might be something that if council would like us to do so, we can reach out to those property owners. And because we have this impending deal on the property, we could do something where we record a secondary annexation petition north of Waddell to pull in that as well. So with that said, that's basically my presentation. And I'd just like to, leave up the discussion to council.
Okay, council members, this is not an item for action tonight. This is a discussion item. I personally want to just say thank you, Eric, for bringing this forward. This is really a matter of cleanup. We've got county islands all over the place, and it does create problems, particularly with sometimes response for our public safety. It creates issues. So I think this is a great opportunity to just express your thoughts on how we can move the ball forward. Personally, I think having that blank petition gives us the room to just reach out and see what kind of support you can get. I think that's a good thing, and to try to the more we can do and clean up in one initiative would be good. But understanding that there may be kind of a phasing in, particularly with the school, understood why they would want to wait. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, can you go back to the last slide you had? That one right there. So just in terms of clarification, so I understand, just correct me if I'm off on this. So that annexation would be a simple process because you have 100% of those property owners agreeing to that. So that would be the cleanest, easiest in terms of moving the Magnolia project forward, correct?
Mayor, Councilmember Williams, that's correct.
What is, does it, so if we're on a December timeline for these developers and you were going to go to a larger piece, to the mayor's point, in terms of cleanup, with the assumption that Paradise Honors has been a good partner and they've committed to when it's time to annex in, what is I guess the negative in going larger and going north of Waddell? Does that impact the timeline?
Mayor, Councilmember, it could impact to an extent depending on what negotiations we need to make with those property owners. If they want to develop an agreement, if they want, those types of things, those would be the impacts that could be possibly foreseen on that.
And so maybe the smarter move then is to move this ball forward because we know we can, and then have that discussion later on. I think that ladder discussion north of Waddell needs to take place. I know a couple of the property owners in there in past years have expressed interest. I can't speak for those folks now or any of the other property owners, but in terms of cleanup, I think that's something that we need to discuss down the road. But I think this makes it cleaner, easier, and certainly with the assumption that Paradise Honors has been a good partner and has committed to that in the future.
And Mayor, Council Member, what we would also envision doing anyway is reaching out to those property owners to the north, because this is a cleanup effort as well, and engaging their interest, whether we move forward as this or a larger one. I think either way, I think we'd want to approach them up front.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Williams, I believe this is your district, or
Yes.
would be in your district, most likely. So I appreciate your input on that. And because we're reaching out to them anyway, and if they want to get on board, it's great. But if not, at least we are taking the temperature now and understanding.
Correct.
Because we don't want to
Move forward.
delay. We don't want to delay. That's the key. We don't want to. We don't want to put the Magnolia District in a situation that doesn't work for them. Councilmember Winters.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for bringing this forward, Eric. These county islands are a problem, particularly in my district in the northeast area, where my residents think they're in the subsidized surprise. Comes to find out they aren't, and they wonder why their roads are not being looked after. But let me ask you this: when do you expect the DOR report? When did you send it in?
We sent it, Mayor, Councilmember Winters. We submitted it in once we received about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They have 30 days to then get us the report, so we're into that time frame. By statute, they have 30 days to send us the report.
Okay, how many days have gone by so far?
Probably at least 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And we did receive the report from the assessor.
You did. Okay, good. Thank you.
Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like the primary-secondary approach also, Eric, and thank you for bringing this forward. Just with Paradise High School, I know they've been a good partner, but I'm really concerned about the parking issue.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow we really need to look at that and help them along. I know that they're not subject to certain parking requirements because they're a school, but if anything we can do to encourage people not parking in Sarayan Ranch, the better. Don't you agree?
Mayor, Councilmember Hall, I definitely agree.
Okay.
Councilmember Tandy.
Thanks. I like the idea of cleaning up the islands, take a strategic approach. I'd recommend we go and at least ask the people up north, and then if later on the information says maybe we don't do that, then they can be carved off easily. But I would bundle the whole thing in. I have a question. Would we be able to do an MOU with the county to handle the planning if they were incorporated in here?
Whole thing in the annexation, north and south of Waddell?
Yeah, I'd like to start with that, and we can always shrink it.
Mayor, Councilmember Tandy, so one of the things is we can shrink down. However, when you start with these petitions, once you record that first blank petition, you record a second blank petition, then it starts it all over again, another 30 days. I think that starts pushing us into, past the December timeframe for Magnolia. However, I think we would look at it in respect to maybe looking at 2 separate areas at this point. And still approaching the property owners to the north about annexation, but we look possibly at 2 separate annexations.
Okay, I'm for whatever the easiest way is, because I think in the long term I'd like to get a lot of this cleaned up so that there's no confusion for the residents in the future, and it just makes more sense in how we structure roads and design roads and things like that. Thanks.
Councilmember Williams.
Yeah, just one more, and I know it's not 100% germane to the item, but since we're talking about this area, 175th, if we're talking about homes, not literally, but eventually in this area, what are the just kind of 30,000 foot level? What are the plans for that roadway? Talking about not just parking, but traffic congestion in that area. If folks in Sarah and Ranch are watching this going, okay, now you're going to put more houses next to us. Ultimately, that's where we're going. That's the pathway. So what does that look like in terms of traffic mitigation?
Mayor, Councilmember Williams, from my understanding of specifically that road of 175th Avenue is it's dedicated to be a collector status. So 80 feet of right of way, give or take, and 2 lanes of travel with a center lane. The Magnolia project is coming in. They'll have to do a full transportation impact analysis. They'll be having to do some improvements along Sweetwater as well, along with the project. So you'll actually have another east-west connection midway through the project too to help alleviate congestion north and south. So those are things they've contemplated through the development process. At this point, we're kind of at zoning level, but they have some conceptual layouts where they've shown those in there, and they would be on the hook for developing their half-street improvements along 175th Avenue.
No, thank you, and more just an awareness that this conversation is taking place. There are folks that are very aware of that and that we're addressing all of those things as part of any development. But thank you, Eric.
It appears that we have some consensus that we're looking for cleanup, and we hope that at least the first phase would create some momentum for taking care of all these parcels. So thank you for that, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Council members, are there any future agenda items that anyone would like to place on a future agenda? Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I was going to bring up is I was hoping at the November 1st meeting that we could have a presentation on the events and plans of reopening of Bell Road in terms of any celebration we're going to have for businesses and for our residents opening up Bell. It's just, and Janine brought it up, and but I just think I'd like me, and I think the rest of us like to know what we're going to do by November 1st. That's our first meeting in November, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'd like to see it on the agenda.
It's a good place to promote it as well.
Yes.
What we're happening. So good idea. All right. Anyone else?
Second.
All right. Council reports. We'll start with you, Councilmember Tandy. Councilmember Hall.
Let's see. We had a couple of grand openings this last week. Caliber Collision, which was an impressive operation. I gotta say, very impressive. And then last night we had the Honda grand opening, and what a class act they are! Wow. And I took a tour through the whole thing, and just as an aside, you know, they have the drop down ceiling in the service area. Okay, well, one of their doors failed. Okay, one of their roll up doors, it failed, and it was 105 degrees outside, and the temperature only went up 2 degrees inside that building. Wow. So that was a real testament to the envelope and the whole thing that they got going on there. So it's just really Bill Percy and Billy Wong. Billy Wong lives in New York. Bill Percy lives in Newport Beach. It's a West Coast, East Coast thing, you know. And but they're already selling quite a few cars. So it's going to be a success story. So anyway, that's I think that's all I got. Thanks.
Very good, Councilwoman.
Yes, I wanted to first of all
hit your microphone.
Is that on?
Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to congratulate Mark and his staff for the fiesta that took place last week. I think there was an awful lot of people there, and everybody enjoyed it. So tell your staff congratulations for all the work. And of course, everybody else, police department, fire department, everybody else that pitched in and helped. It was a great effort, and people really enjoyed it. Another thing is that a week ago, was it a week ago that we fed the people? Anyway, a week ago, I think, Councilman Hall and myself, we bought pizzas for all the workers over at Bell Grand. And We bought it from Pizza Hut because they are right there, right in the middle of the construction. We went over and fed 125 workers, and they were so excited and really thankful. We took water and pizza for all the workers, and they really enjoyed that. So thank you, Skip, for helping out, and we enjoyed it ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have one more thing.
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I had it right here too, and I missed it. But I wanted to send out a real congratulations to the Water Resource Management Director, Terry Lowe, for receiving the Gateway Community College Outstanding Industry Partner Award for his leadership on the council-approved Surprise Gateway Training Center. And he and his team and their dedication to go above and beyond. Yeah. So that's a real kudos to that team. Super. Thank you.
Councilmember Winters?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Councilman Hall was talking about the Caliber Motors ribbon cutting and grand opening. It was a great event. We had a lot of the council members there. And Bell Road looks a lot nice with that nice operation over there. It's a big operation. Because I was at the Fiesta Grande Saturday. It was a great event, and everybody really enjoyed it. And as Councilman Hall said last night, was the grand opening ribbon cutting at the Honda dealership. It's a huge dealership, and had a nice tour. Billy Wong, one of the owners, just like Councilman Hall said, they're both. This is their second project. Their other Honda dealership is in Colorado. But what an investment they made in the city of Surprise. And while you're waiting for your vehicle to be serviced, you can play golf. That's pretty amazing. They have a computer system there, and you can hit the ball. And Councilman Hall hit the ball. It didn't do too well, but thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
Got to work on that golf game, Skip. Yeah, just a couple things. Next Wednesday, as I'm looking at my calendar as I'm talking, the 26th is the District 3 HOA meeting. And so we had one a couple months ago. Trying to do it on a quarterly, kind of 3-4 times a year, bringing all these different HOA groups within District 3 together on one night, trying to address some common problems, some issues that they can bounce ideas off each other. One of the problems I run into in trying to get out to some of these meetings is they fall on a council meeting night, like tonight, for Sarah Ann Ranch. And so this is an opportunity for good discussion. The main topic last time was parking. And so we continue to kind of tackle that problem. But that'll be next Wednesday. And I lost my train of thought. I was just thinking about golf. I did play golf, not at the grand opening there, but while I was getting my oil changed, it's kind of nice. That'll be all, Mayor. Sorry.
Thank you. Councilmember Hayden, would you like to say a few words?
Welcome, Jim.
Yes, welcome.
I'm just absolutely stunned that I'm here. Been participating in some events, and it's kind of a whole new world for me here now, and I'm really looking forward to serving. So thanks for all of you being here.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks so much. Congratulations and welcome aboard again.
And
there will be a reception afterwards. We do have one brief meeting in executive session, which Councilmember Hayden will be participating in. And so I don't know if there's been arrangements made to take his guests upstairs. So there will be a reception for Councilmember Hayden on the 4th floor, and so he can get a look at his new office. And so you can all take a look as well. So you can help, perhaps staff can guide them up there while we're having our meeting.
I have one more thing.
Councilwoman.
Yes, I also forgot one more thing. We had the neighborhood grants actually this week, Councilman Winters and myself, and we extended the neighborhood grants for another month. And there was 2 participants that received their money. last week, but we feel like there's more interest in the community with the grants, so we extended the grants for one more month. Okay.
Good move.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a good move. Thank you all. I know we've all participated in a lot of events, but I would just like to say one thing. I think we all have been looking forward to a lot of the progress that has been moving for our city forward. And, you know, we're so excited about the events that have taken place certainly with the grand openings of new businesses and the awards of our award-winning new campus, our water campus. Very, very exciting. And congratulations, Terry, and to all your team for putting that amazing piece together. So our council's education vision is really coming into focus. And this last week we had a groundbreaking for WestMec, which was very, very exciting move. And so we look forward to all the things that are happening after the Bell Grand Interchange are now opening. You're going to see a lot of change for the better along Grand Avenue. And I know we're all very excited, but I particularly want to thank our staff, because trying to put together that last parcel of land with all the transportation challenges along Grand Avenue, I'm telling you, it could not happen at a better time, but it certainly wouldn't happen without the dedication of our staff. So I particularly want to thank Nicole Lance, our deputy city manager, and Mike Hoover, and our public works staff, who've all worked so hard to try to make sure that that happens smoothly, working with our DOT. So thank you so much. This is a very important moment in our city's history. So I also wanted to thank Mark for a very successful Fiesta Grand. And you know, we're building events, and that's a very important event for us. And obviously it got the attention of the governor's office, because he sent a representative for the first time to honor our heritage here in the city of Surprise. And I was really, really grateful for that. I thought it was a great move. So congratulations, Mark, on yet another successful event. So that's all I really wanted to bring up. And Councilmember Tandy had one more.
Thanks. Councilmember Hall reminded me with his mention of Terry Lowe. We've got lots of ribbon cuttings all the time. Sometimes we don't talk about them. For instance, next week we have 3, at least on my calendar. But I do want to highlight one of them, and that is the grand opening of our Gateway Community College and our water campus and labs. And that's going to be a fantastic resource for the city. And that's down at our water treatment facility at Cactus and Litchfield. And that'll be a big deal coming up this next Wednesday. So thanks.
Very good. Council members, thank you all for your reports. We now will take a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved. Second.
A motion has been made, a second, to recess into executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are in recess.